Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
The OECS and Venezuela have agreed to work together to advance peace, good governance, and dialogue in the South American nation. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, April 13. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. The agreement with President Maduro followed a meeting of the OECS leaders in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Wednesday. Earlier in the week, Maduro visited Cuba and met with the Political Council of the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Americas, ALBA. It is believed that he may have decided to attend the OECS summit in a bid to rally support amidst mounting political unrest at home and political pressure from the major hemispheric organization. The U.S. is among 14 of the leading nations in the hemisphere that have demanded that Caracas release political prisoners and make other pro-democracy concessions. Belize's long-term foreign and local currency issuer has been upgraded by international rating agency Moody's. In its recent ratings, Moody's has given the government a B3 rating, up from CAA2. Moody's says the upgrade is as a result of the current stable economic outlook of the country. On Wednesday, Moody's said the key drivers of the upgrade are the improvement in the government's debt service profile and reduction in the risk of a subsequent credit event following the recent restructuring of the government's debt. The international agency said fiscal and economic challenges are likely to persist, adding that it believes that despite the liquidity relief provided by the debt restructuring, there is a low likelihood that upward pressure on Belize's creditworthiness will develop over the next 12 to 18 months. Jamaica's parliament is being urged to pass legislation to avoid a recurrence of the uproar over an increase in property taxes. On Tuesday, Finance Minister Audley Shaw announced a decrease in the property tax rate amidst wide criticism from the opposition and several stakeholders. But even though the decrease in the rate is welcomed, residents are waiting to see what the taxes will look like in dollar figures. Andrea Krisham of TVJ News has the details.
Well, I think it's a good move. I think it shows maturity on the government's part.
The general consensus among stakeholders we spoke with as they welcomed the reduction in property tax rates. But since the new rates are not yet available online to do the calculations, a bit of caution.
We still need a little more detail to see what the bands are like and see what the calculations would come out to, because even though we have been told what some of the averages are, and the averages sound good, but sometimes the averages are not truly reflective of what the reality will be.
In the tourism sector, for example, some hoteliers faced property tax increases of up to 1,000%. But with the new rates, that increase should now be between 201 and 604%.
But even 600% is still exorbitant. Nobody has that level of money putting down waiting to pay taxes. You know, and we just hope that moving forward, if there are any tax increases, it will be done incrementally.
And so changes to the Land Valuation Act are welcomed. Legally, lands should be valued every 5 years. So instead of massive property tax increases after those valuations, changes to the Land Valuation Act to increase land values each year in keeping with inflation should provide a buffer.
It will provide a more gradual change in property taxes each year for which Jamaican citizens can better plan.
We are calling on the government and the opposition to make sure that that bill goes through quickly and that we don't have another cycle in this country, or it never happens again to us, where we have 15 years of low values to be tried to be caught up in one go.
Now, even though the property tax rates have been reduced, the parliamentary opposition is still not satisfied.
Even after the reduction that the minister has announced, these property owners are going to face increases to the tune of 200% to 300% and upwards. Now, these property owners are not going to absorb these increases because they are primarily businesses, and they're going to be passed on to the consumer.
Julian Robinson wants commercial and residential property owners with property tax increases over 300% to receive special consideration. Amidst the dark clouds of the tax increase, however, there just may be a silver lining for those who invest in land.
Especially if it's not an income-earning situation, we are going to see some adjustments there as well. Because to find over 600% increase on properties that are not income-generating, that's difficult. So we might see some improved efficiency in land use coming out of this.
Guyana's Attorney General Basil Williams is seeking to put an end to concerns surrounding the State Asset Recovery Bill. Williams explained that the bill is aimed at recovering stolen state property and no one will be arrested or charged under it. The main opposition, the People's Progressive Party, has accused the government of using the bill to victimize its party members. Williams says the State Asset Recovery Unit officials use the powers to confiscate property believed to have been stolen from the state, but it will not result in a criminal conviction. But despite the assurances of safeguards, Williams says the government was not prepared to default on its responsibility. He says stolen state property must be recovered.
It is strictly, and I wish to emphasize, it is strictly a civil recovery proceeding and not criminal. In other words, it is a proceeding in which no one would be arrested, no one would be charged, no one would be prosecuted, nor is there any question under this act that anyone could be given a custodial sentence. So,
Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams addressing reporters on Wednesday. The Attorney General emphasized that citizens will be protected since Sarah will need to consult with a High Court judge before proceeding with a case.
This process requires the intervention of the High Court, of the Supreme Court of this country, before it could give effect to the results of its investigations into whether any property is state property unlawfully acquired, or its desire to institute proceedings for civil recovery orders against property or even restraint orders.
No criminal action by SARA is authorized by the legislation, as the bill will empower SARA to recover property only. Another important component of the bill is that a high court will solely be responsible for giving the go-ahead to begin recovery of state property unlawfully obtained.
So the court is the final determinant of whether an investigation or any orders made pursuant to that investigation or any any proceedings instituted to recover property, state property. That decision resides in the High Court of this country. And further, appeals are allowed from decisions of the court like in any other areas of the law. So there are many safeguards.
The legislation also provides for a high court to reject a request by SARA to proceed against a suspect. In addition, the value of the asset must not be less than $10 million, in keeping with international standards and best practices.
And that report was from Sean M. Barak of HGP Nightly News. A man in Trinidad and Tobago who was convicted of killing a woman and her 18-month baby 12 years ago has been sentenced to death. 40-year-old Anand Babulal was sentenced to die by hanging in the San Fernando Supreme Court on Wednesday. He was convicted of killing 26-year-old Ria Ramlochan and her 18-month-old son Ishmael Timothy in August 2005. Ramlochan's body was found in a latrine at her Mayaro home. She had stab wounds to her chest and stomach. Baby Ishmael's body was found in the Mafikin River, and officials say he was cut and stabbed more than 14 times. Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, controversy surrounding the election date in the Bahamas. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
Welcome to Dominica, a true fantasy island. Whether you're in search of extreme adventure or a family vacation or a relaxing getaway, Dominica is fun for everyone. And a place where you can totally disconnect and enjoy paradise. Discover Dominica, the nature island.
The most anticipated musical experience returns. Join us throughout beautiful Tobago as we celebrate the universal language with performances by Grammy Award winner D'Angelo, legendary singer Grace Jones, Shabba Ranks, Morgan Heritage, Ellen Trotman Hess the Band, and many more. The 2017 Tobago Jazz Experience, April 22nd to 30th.
The jonkonu's fife, the rhythm of the drum, the strum of the pan, the lilt of the voice from island to mainland, all pigments and tones, old and young, his and hers, all we are one. You, we, me. This is UE TV.
Some sections of the voting public in the Bahamas are taking Prime Minister Perry Christie to task over the May 10 election date. Christie announced the date earlier this week, but some have been complaining on social media that May 10 is also the anniversary of the sinking of the HMBS Flamingo in 1980, in which 4 Defense Force Marines were killed. We get more from ZNS Network News.
Some say it's a sacred day on the calendar that should not be touched, while others argue that there is a lack of reflection by the Bahamian community, particularly in these modern times. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie says by no means was the intention to overshadow the significance of this day in Bahamian history.
I want to make sure that everybody fully understands that we have not diminished the meaning of the sacrifice of the young men, and that, in fact, if anything, we want to even do more to memorialize them.
The Prime Minister says there was a whole lot that went into determining the May 10th elections, particularly after the off and on dates for Carnival. ZNS News understands that the intention may have initially been to hold elections on Tuesday, May 9th, but after Carnival dates were finalized from the 4th through the 6th, an additional day was given to prepare for general elections. The nation's leader pledged to ensure that the memorial of the HMBS Flamingo is not left in the distance on Election Day.
It's a date, but I propose to attend the function. Butch Cavallo is going to attend the function. I propose to lift the function up and speak to it and give it meaning, and hopefully whenever I speak to it, notwithstanding the fact that it's Election Day, people will understand fully.
The election date controversy is just the latest in what has been heated exchanges between political foes over just about any and everything.
3 people in Trinidad and Tobago have been infected with HIV from contaminated blood from the National Blood Bank Transfusion Center. One of them is now dead. However, the government says it was not as a result of the contamination. And as government members fielded questions in the lower house on Wednesday, the health minister accused the opposition of politicizing the case. Kamal Georges of CNC3 News tells us more.
The Office of the Attorney General is now negotiating compensation for the people who contracted HIV because of contaminated blood from the blood transfusion center. Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Stuart Young, says the AG's office is currently engaging their attorneys after an investigation was done into the matter. But while that process takes place, comes word that one of them died.
Bearing in mind one of the patients who were HIV contaminated or infected has passed away. Is there any before the Attorney General for compensation for that family?
This person who unfortunately has passed away is not as a result of this contamination. The second point is, as is customary with law, the estate of a person who is deceased may continue to pursue action on his or her behalf.
Minister Young assured that those responsible for the error would be held accountable. While that matter is being addressed, government also sought to clarify why baby Shannon Luke was not able to benefit from the Children's Life Fund. Health Minister Terence Dayal Singh said the application was evaluated by the same chairman and board appointed under the last government. He says the Children's Life Fund Authority sought 5 opinions locally and overseas on baby Shannon's condition. He accused the opposition of politicizing the matter.
Under your administration, I have counted to date over 10 applications which were rejected because they were deemed not to be life-threatening. And in opposition, we never sought to politicize the issue, but to let the professionals in their professional capacity do their job.
Shannon Luke's application for surgery was refused because her condition was not deemed life-threatening. And since the surgery was already paid for, the CLF board said its act does not facilitate reimbursements.
The head of the prison in Antigua says the conditions at the facility are worsening and the authorities are being accused of failing to deliver on promises to invest in upgrading the facility. Prison Superintendent Albert Wade says the promised relief to the inmates has not been forthcoming for over a year, and in fact, the hardship has intensified, for there has not been running water in over a year. He says in reality, this hardship is also experienced by the officers who have to work under the same conditions that the prisoners live. The prison is overcrowded with 314 inmates in buildings designed to hold 150. Officers have been forced to buy truckloads of water for cooking, cleaning, and daily hygiene so that those can be maintained. However, with limited financial resources, most times there isn't enough money to buy water. And according to Wade, the prison has to rely on the fire department to supply the commodity. Apart from the lack of water, the prison superintendent said construction has been halted on the prison cells expansion project. The work commenced over a year ago, and Attorney General Stedroy Cutie Benjamin said it would have been completed by mid-2016. As Grenada prepares to launch its annual Spice Mass Festival, there are concerns of severe financial constraints facing the entity organizing the festivities. We get the details from GBN News in St. George's.
In his first official media interaction ahead of next week's launch of Spice Mass, Chief Executive Officer Kirk Seetherhall says the corporation has laid out a plan to generate income. In reviewing 2016, he said all final events for Carnival saw expenditure overriding income. The Soca Groovy Monarch show is often seen as the Carnival show which generates the most income, but not so, says the Spice Mass Corporation's CEO. That show, he says, according to the data, last year had an income of $466,000 with expenditure of $643,000. Pan's income was $24,000 but carried expenditure of $376,000, representing over a 1,500% loss. Queen Show's income was $47,000 and the total expenditure $177,000. The March Gras income, which generated $57,000, was confronted with expenditure of $265,000. He says those figures were shared with sponsors and other key stakeholders earlier this year.
Well, we would have had our sponsorship breakfast. We would have had it earlier on this year, and we would have detailed, I am an open book. I actually went through the finances with the sponsors so they could see exactly where we were. I was able to tell them that in 2015, we had $1,365,000 in sponsorship. In 2016, we had $852,000, which was a shortage of $500,000. government contribution remained the same, 700,000. We were able to increase gate receipts last year by 126,000. It does not necessarily mean that there were more patrons. It means there were more paying people at the event, because I know we were strict on ticketing last year.
Seattle House says government too must play its role to ensure Spice Mass is a profitable venture.
In terms of its subvention, and to also get the corporate bodies out there to understand the benefits that they derive from Spice Mass and to really step up to the plate.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, a blow to West Indies' 2019 Cricket World Cup bid. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Imagine experiencing your jazz and Easter vacation at Rovenel's Resort and Conference Center. Stay and enjoy one of Tobago's most festive times with us. Choose out of 2 packages for a 4-night stay, executive or deluxe rooms, with 1 night free in our standard and self-catered rooms. Packages include free breakfast and shuttle service to and from popular beaches. For reservations, call 1-868-639-9666.
It's not about exercising. It's having the strength to do what you're passionate about. It's not about the road traveled. It's about the one to be traveled. An important thing in life is finding the perfect balance between body and soul. With a bottle of Ensure, you get the proteins, calcium, and 26 vitamins and minerals your body needs to live the best moments of your life with strength and energy. Your life, your health, your Ensure.
The U.S. national team's once rocky road to next summer's World Cup in Russia has smoothed out considerably in the last 5 days, with Tuesday's 1-1 draw with Panama giving the Americans added confidence and a hard-earned point, keeping them in the middle of the CONCACAF standings 4 games into the 10-match tournament.
West Indies' hopes of automatic qualification for the 2019 World Cup in England took a further blow when they dropped a point in the last International Cricket Council rankings released on Wednesday. The Caribbean side currently lie outside of the automatic places at 9th in the rankings, and they lost the final one-day international to Pakistan on Tuesday to suffer a 2-1 defeat in the 3-match series. As a result, the Windies slipped to 83 points, while Pakistan gained 1 point to move to 91, while remaining 8th in the rankings. West Indies looked on course to enhancing their ranking when they staged a record run chase to beat Pakistan by 4 wickets in the opening ODI last Friday at the Guyana National Stadium. However, they plunged to a 74-run loss in the second game 2 days later, before also suffering a 6-wicket defeat on Tuesday. The 2-time World Cup champions also face a crucial 5-match series against England in September, just prior to the ICC deadline for automatic qualification. Trinidadian batsman Jason Mohammed has his eyes set on a test debut as he seeks to build on his recent success in the limited overs format of the West Indies. The 30-year-old has enjoyed a decent run this year with 4 half-centuries and 6 one-day internationals, and believes he can make a successful transition to the longest format. Speaking to the TNT Newsday newspaper, Mohammed said it would be an exciting moment for him if called to the test team. Mohammed's healthy average of 44 in List A cricket versus his modest 26 at the first-class level has seen him pigeonholed as a one-day player, but the Trinidadian said he would continue trying to improve his value in the longest format. West Indies face Pakistan in a 3-test series starting April 21 at Sabina Park in Jamaica, hoping to reverse their recent trend of poor results, which had left them winless in their last 7 tours. Still in cricket, the Caribbean Premier League will once again stage matches in the United States during the upcoming campaign. 6 games were successfully staged at the Central Broward Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida last year, marking the first time fixtures in the tournament had been played outside the Caribbean. The decision to host games in Florida was an attempt by organizers to expand the base and reach of the tournament. CPL CEO Damien O'Donoghue said last year's success had been a deciding factor in once again scheduling important games for the Sunshine State. According to numbers released by CPL recently, the leg of the tournament generated $12.5 million and captured a television audience of 12.7 million. In its fifth year, the CPL is scheduled to run from August 4 to September 10 and will also be played at traditional venues in Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, St. Lucia and St. Kitts. Football organizations in the region will pay a hefty price if funds from FIFA are misappropriated. That's the stern warning from FIFA President Gianni Infantino as he wrapped up his three-nation Caribbean visit in Guyana. In the wake of scandals that rocked the football world in recent years, the football boss says they will be taking a zero-tolerance approach on corruption. More from Ethan Griffith of Capital News.
Approach to corruption. These statements were made by President of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, yesterday on his tour to Guyana. Members Association will now be accessing US $1.2 million annually as compared to $250,000 US previously.
We are investing much more in football, which is what we have to do as FIFA, and what each association has to do as well. But don't cheat, because there will be zero tolerance. If we catch somebody who says he's building a football pitch and he's building the swimming pool of his villa, then he is out and he has to repay each single cent. So we trust, we invest, we monitor, we check, we control much more efficiently than in the past. And if somebody still thinks he's more clever, then he will have to bear the consequences. We will not admit it.
Infantino touched down in Guyana for a short visit yesterday, where he participated in the turn of the sod ceremony for the Country First Goal project. He also met with President David Granger, and he also visited some young footballers participating in the grassroots program.
With just hours to go before Bahamas plays host to the Caribbean Games, the island's athletes are already showing signs of their dominance ahead of the Games. Jonathan Benson of ZNS Network News tells us more.
Bahamas also holding its own at the Carifta Water Polo Championships, winning gold in the under-16s and silver in the under-19s. Sports Minister Dr. Daniel Johnson ecstatic about the whole weekend.
I want to pay tribute today to the memory of the great Austin Seeley, who said years ago right here in Nassau, Bahamas, he wants to see the Carifta Games. And this week we have seen Judo Carifta next door, where the Bahamas has struck gold. We see here today in this wonderful aquatic facility where once again our under-16 boys have struck gold. Of course, congratulations to Jamaica, to Barbados, Bonaire, Trinidad and Tobago, and everyone that came. We hope you had a fabulous time. This is the future of sports in the Bahamas and in the region.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and CaribVision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today. Again, the major developments of this day, the OECS and Venezuela agree on initiatives to promote peace and good governance in Caracas. And in sport, West Indies suffer a blow to the 2019 Cricket World Cup bid. That's Caribbean Newsline. Have yourselves a very good evening.